of our Patreon supporters. We couldn't do this show without you, so I just wanted to say thank you. And if you want to help support us, go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
What it costs. I want to know what the truth is. And I hope that people, my son, anybody, if my name comes up, whether you like me, whether you agree with me or not, at least you can respect the fact that he's on a quest for truth. He's on a quest for truth.
Welcome to Skiba News Nation, bringing you unfiltered views, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Skiba, award-winning musician and son of Rob Skiba.
There's this song I used to sing in the orphanage when I'd get sad. It always cheered me up.
Sly, don't let this ginger sing.
Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow.
Holy sh**, she's good.
Till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick at my chin and grin and say,
oh sh**, nailed it.
The sun will come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may. Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love ya. Tomorrow, you're only a day away.
That's my little orphan Arnie.
So big shout out to Brian Monarch and Joe Godit for making that great deepfake. And hey, Skiba News Nation family, welcome to episode 78 of Skiba News Nation, your weekly source for the latest news, controversial topics, conspiracies, forgotten history, and so much more. There's Charlie. I'm Jeremiah Skiba, your host. And today we're going to be talking about Russell Brand talks about British enlistment for World War III. The U.S. carries out a self-defense strike in Yemen. The Texas Civil War. Solar eclipse all across the U.S. in 2024. Neuralink brain chips. World War with Russia. And is Tucker Carlson stuck in Russia? An all-new OPA'S Corner, and for history, we'll be talking about the dark side of Nickelodeon. Another great Truth Talk segment, memes, and much more, so subscribe and stay tuned. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my great and insightful co-host, Mr. Jake Grant. Welcome, Jake.
Hello. What's up, Jeremiah?
What's up, man? How have you been?
Oh, been pretty great. I'm really excited. I actually have a quick promo video I sent over to OPA. I have been working on an audio dramatization of the Bible for the past few years, and I'm nearing the end of the Torah, and I wanted to showcase this intro so anybody who's not checked it out yet can go and find the Word audio production. Check this out.
Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Ruach Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And Elohim said,
"Let there be light."
And there was light. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good. And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And Elohim said,
"Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters."
And Elohim made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so.
I had to get us to that verse about the firmament above and the waters that were contained within and without.
Very cool.
So I'm excited about that. I wanted to share with our audience. And other than that, man, we got some really interesting news. You know, World War III is upon us, so, you know, no biggie.
All right, man. Well, let's dive deep.
Because he is a British citizen, he's got the accent and everything. I figured showing this clip wouldn't hurt because it is kind of, you know, correlated to what the news is, which is the British might be enlisting people in the near future. You know, forced enlistment, where people of a certain age are required to join the military. Why is this? Well, they think they might be fighting World War III very soon with Russia. So check out this clip.
Are we being primed for it? Anyone that's been following the Ukraine-Russia conflict will know that it started with a professional army, moved towards a civilian army. Indeed, that's one of the catchphrases of the UK army. Wars are started by professional armies, ended by civilian armies. You'll have seen in the Ukraine that initially they started with a fresh young fighting force, but due to the fact that the members of the army kept, you know, dying, they ended up with increasingly older guys in the army, leading to videos like this. Where the fighting force was ultimately dads and middle-aged men. So could conscription be a reality in countries like yours and mine? And are we being primed and groomed to accept the idea of forever wars?
These recruits didn't choose the Swedish army. The army has started choosing them.
And given current global tensions, a defence expert reckons Australia should seriously consider bringing back a form of national service.
I have in the past thought that some form of conscription or national service could indeed be of a benefit for connecting people to the idea of service, even to the idea of tribe or nation. But now that the idea of nation seems to have been entirely corrupted by globalist ideas, now that democracy more and more seems like a sham, now that more and more the agenda of our nation seems to be so at odds with the agenda of the populations, now that nations seem so divided, it seems so bloody extraordinary that an idea like conscription would be discussed. And also, more worrying is there's a real likelihood that it will be for a war. The idea of conscription so we could participate in community projects, protect one another, feel integrated and connected in true communities of service and love, togetherness and unity. That seems like a fantastic idea. But marching into Moscow carrying a heavy backpack in the crosshairs of Vladimir Putin seems less attractive.
And amid NATO fears of an all-out war with Russia, he says Australia should be training new troops while we still have time.
So that's Australia. Again, remember, Australia we were regarded as a pretty laissez-faire, relaxed country until the pandemic, when we discovered that Australia can be pretty bloody strict. Over in the UK, similarly, the idea of conscription is being discussed.
Somebody who you'll know well, General Sir Patrick Saunders, I'm not sure if you served with him, but certainly you have served. You did. So he's suggesting, reading between the lines in the Telegraph today, that if we go to war with Russia, we could find that our youth may have to be conscripted. That's a bit alarming.
Yes, head of the British Army, one of the most cerebral thinkers that we've got, a strategist. We need to listen and listen carefully.
He said, "We will not be immune, and as the pre-war generation, we must similarly prepare. And that is a whole-of-nation undertaking. Ukraine brutally illustrates that regular armies start wars. Citizen armies win them."
And don't necessarily win them either. And what's startling about this, of course, is that we're talking about the idea of conscription. The idea of war with Russia has been spoken of as inevitable. Of course, Ukraine are already in a war with Russia, and many people have been cynical, doubtful, concerned about Western countries, your country, my country, funding that war, perpetuating that war, potentially at the expense of a diplomatic solution, which many of us know was on the table right at the dawn of this conflict and was somehow neglected, perhaps as a result of an agenda not derived from the interests of Ukrainian people or Russian people. The idea that a civilian population from the UK or from Australia would be participating in this conflict without understanding what it's about, what the agenda is. Of course, what we're told in the legacy media again and again is that Vladimir Putin is a madman, that Russia has an expansionist agenda, that they're hell-bent on invading other, even though Ukraine isn't yet a NATO countries, and that we all have to be concerned about Russia as an aggressor. But elsewhere, Jens Stoltenberg, the head of NATO, has admitted that they provoked Russia into this conflict openly and publicly.
President Putin declared in the autumn of 2021, and he actually sent a draft treaty that he wanted NATO to sign to promise no more NATO enlargement. That was a precondition for not invade Ukraine. Of course, we didn't sign that. The opposite happened.
The UK is already involved in supporting multiple war efforts.
This war on Sesame Street's getting out of hand.
In Ukraine and elsewhere. And while the future of warfare may be unpredictable, the armed forces need people. Finding them is part of the mission.
There's one! Quick, grab him! Conscript him right now!
We've been too complacent. I think I've said this many times with you. What's coming over the horizon should shock us. It should worry us, and we are not prepared. We've had a couple of decades, 3 decades or so since the Cold War. Life has gone well.
Life has gone well. 9/11, financial crash, COVID. Time for a bit of conscription, I say. I have nothing but respect for people that operate within the services, whether that's the fire service, the police service, the military, health services, people that are willing to give their time and indeed their lives for a higher purpose, I believe are the finest kind of people, the very people around whom you have to build a society, without whom you don't have a society. But the idea that we sort of deserve a war now to celebrate, you know, that we've all got satellite TV and PlayStation is pretty risible when there's a crisis of meaning, total lack of trust in all of our institutions, and a sense of a total breakdown of the cohesion in society.
It's now going to get more difficult as authoritarian states exploit our timidity.
Come on! Foreigners are looking at us and thinking that we're weak. Now get on a uniform and get out there and fight. What for? Who for? Oh God, I've looked at it and it's basically for corruption and hypocrisy.
Perhaps reluctance to really put fires out. And the best example of that is a democracy on the corner of Eastern Europe.
Oh no, I've got some terrible news for you about Ukrainian democracy. One, they're shutting down all opposition media within the country. They're jailing journalists, and even their own citizens don't think it's democratic. They've done a deal with BlackRock to build the country after the war, where they will crush unions and that they'll create the first fully digital society. You've even seen Zelensky saying, you know, we've done a deal with BlackRock.
We have already managed to attract attention and have cooperation with such giants as BlackRock, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs.
These kind of things are not speculative. They're not conspiracy theories. Ukrainian democracy is in trouble. They're right now doing investigations into corruption. Many of the weapons intended for Ukraine don't make it to Ukraine. So they're continually having to conduct internal investigations to ensure it can even really be called a democracy. I mean, I think they've scrapped all of their elections. How democratic can it be? So you can't just glibly say, we have to support Ukraine, they're a democracy, or you can say it, there is someone is saying it on the legacy media, but be aware that what you're saying is not true and therefore propaganda. And propaganda with the most nefarious of end, asking people to fight in someone else's war.
That, in its 3rd year, is now in conflict, and we've not resolved that. So Patrick Saunders is saying, prepare for what's coming over the horizon. There is a 1939 feel to the world right now.
At a time when you're being told, we've got no intention to go to war with Iran, while continually engaging in various conflicts that seem to triangulate somewhere around, oh yeah, Tehran, right in the middle of Iran, seems to be something that we ought be mindful of. You've got Republican politicians telling you, we've got to have a war with Iran. You've got the president saying, we've got to respond to these 3 deaths. You're being told from every conceivable angle that there's an inevitability of war with Iran. Yet when people are directly asked, should there be a war with Iran, they seem to deny it.
This morning, the Biden administration vowing to take all necessary action.
It's necessary.
After an unmanned drone strike sent, it said, by Iran-backed militant groups. President Biden yesterday leading a moment of silence and promising an American response.
We had a tough day last night in the Middle East.
Even that sentence isn't good. We had a tough day last night in the Middle East. And may I say that I find it rather appalling when politicians hold public silences when it's their actions and decisions that have led to the tragic deaths of those service personnel, and that his subsequent actions will likely lead to the deaths of more service personnel. If you're gonna... Now, many progressive folk might condemn Marjorie Taylor Greene as a harpy, a hysteric, a lunatic, an extremist. Here is Marjorie Taylor Greene saying you shouldn't have wars, which seems to me to be a sensible thing to say.
What I have to say to Lindsey Graham and others that are just madly calling for war is they sound psychotic, absolutely psychotic. War is very serious, and if the president is planning to go to war with Iran, he needs to come to Congress and ask permission, and this is something that Congress has to give approval for.
Lunatic Marjorie Taylor Greene there saying that Congress should be consulted before embarking on war. I mean, I think it's part of the Constitution. Now, that rational, sensible, heroic politician Nancy Pelosi claiming that anyone protesting against war is a Putin apologist. See how it works? Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's crazy. Nancy Pelosi, she's a hero. Glass ceiling smashing. Yeah, first female Speaker of the House. What have you got to say, first female Speaker of the House? Well, anyone protesting against war, is a hero. It's part of the civil rights movement that led to even the opportunities that you're enjoying. Oh, no, I'm saying they're liars and that they're funded by Putin. Oh.
For them to call for a ceasefire is Mr. Putin's message. Mr. Putin's message. Make no mistake, this is directly connected to what he would like to see. Same thing with Ukraine. It's about Putin's message. I think some of these protesters are spontaneous and organic and sincere. Some, I think, are connected to Russia.
She may have the delicate features of a cartoon mouse, but she has the cruel heart of a tyrant.
And I say that having looked at this for a long time now, as you know.
You think some of these protests are Russian plants?
Do you see how the legacy media participates in the construction of myths while simultaneously saying, you've got to watch independent media, they're always purveying conspiracy theories? So you're saying that these protests are made up of Russian plants? How about asking, have you got any evidence for this? Wait a second, you're making some pretty outrageous claims there, Nancy Pelosi. Also, where the hell have you got these hundreds of millions from when you earn a couple of $100,000 a year? Instead of that, just tee up an opportunity for Nancy Pelosi to convey propaganda.
Well, there you heard it from Russell Brand himself. You know, is this a sign of World War III? I think it just is another red flag to get you prepared, because it could be coming to a nation near you if they decide to throw in the towel with, you know, all the big interests of BlackRock and Lockheed Martin, you know.
Yep.
Anyways, what about here at home? Check out this recent report of the U.S. poking Yemen in the eye, as we recently saw that video of them all chanting in the streets, "We don't care if it's World War III, bring it on," right? And that was just paraphrasing. They were singing it in Arabic, of course, but yeah, it's worth noting that this is happening right now. Check out this next clip.
A U.S. official telling Fox News the U.S. has carried out a self-defense strike targeting and destroying multiple projectiles that the Houthis were preparing to launch at commercial ships just in the last hour. Now, this is the 12th time the U.S. has conducted strikes against the Houthis in Yemen since January 11th, and the second in just under about 24 hours. Now, this is completely separate from the looming response to the drone attack that killed the 3 soldiers and injured 40 others in Jordan on Sunday. This was a unilateral U.S. strike. We're staying on it. We'll bring you any developments.
All right. So we have attacks happening in Yemen. So kind of like what we saw in some of those clips with Russell Brand, the U.S. Seems to claim to not want to have war with Iran, but they are sparking little fires around that area of the world. So with that said, check out this next clip, which is the potential civil war brewing down in Texas. You guys can give us your firsthand accounts after this video.
I wouldn't have missed this. I've been on, this is horrible what's happening to us. And whatever, I have some ladies over there I met, they drove all the way in from Oregon.
This was just a little sign of show of respect for Texas and what they're doing. We just want people to come into our country legally and respect our way of life and the laws, and to welcome in. I mean, my grandparents came from Italy, and so, I mean, you know, we're all immigrants of some sort, but we came in to become American, to love America.
Political pundits, certain individuals, certain groups claiming to be an army of God are coming to our community to spread hate and to spread dissension. And I'm troubled by that, because this is not who we are. So we need this to stop. And there's only one individual that can stop this, and that is our governor. But as you may have heard, he's going to be here on Sunday. Last time he was here, he brought 4 of his buddies. Now he's bringing 10 more, a total of 14 governors coming to our community to spread hate, false narrative, and to put our culture down and to put our community down. Now, this governor
do you think this
needs
guy's
to
a shill, or do you think he's
100%
speaking from the heart?
That are Texans. You know,
I think he really believes a lie.
At exactly 12:57, this community is going to go dark for 4.5 minutes. It's going to be a total solar eclipse. And I was hoping, when I heard about this 7 years ago, that Eagle Pass would be recognized as the first point where you can see the eclipse. But now we're known as this point where a potential civil war might commence.
All right, so your thoughts, fellow Texans there over in Dallas?
I think OPA has a completely different opinion on what I have, but I'll say that, you know, I totally understand where they're coming from being a Texan. Like, I know people, I've known people who have suffered at the border, who have had their property stolen, who have almost been murdered. There have been several cases of this, of just illegal. We don't know who's coming in the country. So we don't know if they're criminals. We don't know, you know, we don't know who they are. So if they're undocumented, they could be serial killers, and they're coming in our country, serial killing our Texans. So everybody's taking a stand, and a lot of people like that guy thought, well, what did he call us? Racist? What's the new word?
Oh, I can't even tell you. Just a hodgepodge of, oh, they're coming to spread hate.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, I am totally for immigration, but there's a key word that's missing, and it's legal and illegal. They're two different things. You can come in legally and do all the process, or you can come in illegally and literally work the crappiest jobs. You know, you don't have any paperwork, you don't have any, you know, you're not a person to the state. So you would have better opportunities doing it legally, you know? And I don't know, that's just me ranting on what I personally think about it, but I don't know how I feel about, you know, let me just let Opa talk. Me and Opa were talking about it yesterday, kind of heated.
Well, what you just got through saying, Jeremiah, was, you know, you think there's, you know, two things. People need to come in legally, or they're coming in illegally. Mm-hmm. Well, what's happening down there on the border is very similar. It's either what he's doing is illegal, because the Constitution says that the U.S. manages the borders, the government, not the states. Or they can do it legally, which means that the government, the U.S. government, takes care of the border. And if they have a beef with it, then they should go talk to your representatives, to your senators, get them to get the government to do the right thing to make sure that the people that are coming in legally. So, I mean, to me, it's you know, you want only legals to come in. I only want border patrol or border control to be done legally, not illegally.
But my thing is, like it all stems from what? What does it all stem? Like, how did this all start? Because Biden refused to build the wall, to keep illegals out, to do the right thing. And, you know, I blame him for it. And because of us Texans sending, you know, all these illegals to sanctuary cities like San Francisco and New York, they finally got a taste of their own medicine for calling us racist. And now they're like, oh, we don't want them. Get them out of here. So they're like totally freaked out by it. But I don't know. We're torn.
I don't know. I just think this is setting a very, very, very dangerous precedent.
Yeah, and when you hear talk of civil war from people, that can become very alarming, especially looking at the world stage right now, how incendiary it is. And I did kind of try to lend credence to the other side of the table, which was, oh, we're trying to be merciful. I think last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I shared how, isn't it, the position of the person that's like, well, these thousands of migrants are about to cross over my barbed wire fence. I might as well lift it up so that, I don't got to treat injuries. But then that mindset popped up in a meme I wanted to share just to balance out the position. Take down that barbed wire. It's inhumane. Not if you don't climb over it. So it's all about choice, right? And I think hearing both perspectives from Opa and Jeremiah is really refreshing because, it shows that, there's multiple issues on the table. One, there's the legal contention between the state and the federal forces. That is the most alarming Civil War-ish news. Then you have just the debate between legal and illegal immigration, which is another item, but it's separate and it's on the table as well. So all of those, let's watch out because there are a lot of people in Texas share Jeremiah's sentiment, right?
Yeah.
When you expect a receding hairline, but you get a seceding hairline instead.
Yeah, if we get 50K by the end of the month or by 2 months, I'll get that haircut.
50,000 subscribers, everybody. You heard it. Share the video out. Get those likes going. Jeremiah, why don't you pop your face up on screen so people can see, they can envision that emblazoned
right here
on the side of your, yeah.
And I wouldn't wear headphones for the episode, so I'd have to really show it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are talking like that. Hey, what if Texas seceded from the Union, right? And this is exactly what the kind of speech we heard during the Civil War in the 1800s. But Jeremiah, I mean, what would you say is the biggest red flag for Texas actually leaving the United States of America and becoming the Lone Star State in terms of its own country?
Well, I don't think they can. Can they, Opa? I heard that we actually couldn't.
Yeah, basically we can't, but we could.
But I think it'd be cool, but I want Trump 2024 for America. I'm like a proud American, a proud Texan, so it's kind of
bring them together,
torn.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I thought this was a good reminder. We're seeing all these distressing headlines, right? Well, check this out. When a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure, right? And so you'll find people sticking their heads in the sand despite these things happening on the world stage. And the pot's literally boiling right now, frogs. So wake up, right? Here's an interesting thing coming in April. This is the total solar eclipse. And I remember seeing this in southern Kentucky. I was there at the point of totality August 21st, 2017. And that first line, it went through 7 cities named Salem. Very interesting. Huh. I think it might have been 8 cities. But this year, the total solar eclipse is going through Nineveh's. So it just so happens to be passing over multiple towns named Nineveh.
Now, is that a coincidence or not?
I mean, I like to call them divine appointments personally, but let's look at these verses over here because things that happen in the heavens are signs of the times. We don't know what the sign means, but it is definitely a heads-up warning sometimes, it feels like. Check this out, Matthew 12:39. But he answered and said unto them, an evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, but there shall no sign be given to it but the sign of the prophet Jonah. And whenever you look at the book of Jonah, what is interesting here, right, is that historically, people claim that a solar eclipse passed over Nineveh when Jonah came to warn the city that it would be destroyed. Here's what this text says. Donald Weissman has speculated that the eclipse took place around when Jonah arrived in Nineveh and urged the people to repent, otherwise the city would be destroyed. This would explain the dramatic repentance of the people of Nineveh as described in the book of Jonah. The sign of Jonah. Wow. Here's a verse from Exodus. And it shall come to pass, if they will not believe me, neither hearken to the voice of the first sign, that they will believe the voice of the latter sign. You know, we got these two signs that happened in a almost 7 year period in between them, right? Which we had the rise of Trump. We had all these world events, COVID. We had, you know, Russia. We've had ISIS. You know, we've had a whole bunch of stuff happen in the past 7 years since Trump took office back in 2016. This happened in 2017. But anyways, so you guys, heads up. You gonna go check out the solar eclipse, Jeremiah? What do you think?
It's gonna go right through Dallas.
Yeah, if you come out here and we can have like a meetup, that would be so cool, wouldn't that?
Hey, I was interested in going to a point of totality. If they're gonna have it in Dallas, that would be kind of cool.
We're on the, I guess, the left edge of it, but we're in that zone, that yellow zone that you saw.
Yeah. All right. So here's some tech news, right? Speaking of Texans, a Texan has moved forward on implanting electronics in people's brains. You know who I'm talking about, Elon Musk. And I wanted to demonstrate to everybody how this technology would work. You know, everybody's going to be talking about how it's in a human patient now. The first implant of Neuralink has happened. Well, you're curious how they would train the human mind to be able to, you know, telepathically communicate with electronics? Check this clip out.
He's learned to interact with a computer for a tasty banana smoothie delivered through a straw. We can interact with the Neuralinks simply by pairing them to an iPhone.
Like Charlie.
Just as you might pair your phone to a Bluetooth speaker. The links record from in real time the firing rates from thousands of neurons to a computer. Using these data, they produce. After only a few minutes of calibration, we can use the output from the decoder to move the cursor instead of the joystick. Page's new game, Pong.
Look,
to control his
he's using his mind.
On the right side of the screen,
crazy.
Page simply
And
thinks
that can
about
be
moving
humans
his hand up or down.
browsing Google
We removed the joystick
through their
altogether.
Google glasses.
Now that he's up to speed,
Or the
let's
Apple
increase
one.
the difficulty and see how well Pager can play with the Neuralink.
It's connecting paraplegics to the dark web, or just the regular web, but you know. Oh man! So that's how it would work, everybody.
He's doing better than I could have done when I played that game way back when.
Pong.
Ponging it up. Yep.
Man, I used to have this thing that would plug into the TV, and I could play any Atari game, and it was the coolest thing ever. It was like one of those, you know, brick TVs. It was like you just switched it in, you could play Frogger or Pong, or it was dope.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember having one of those growing up too. Now we have emulators, right?
Yeah.
So this next clip is the alternate history of Russia. I mean, we're all talking about World War with Russia. Well, check out this clip.
Tartaria was this empire, highly advanced. This empire existed in modern day Russia, but now historians stuff like, no, it didn't. Well, guess what? There's a document from the CIA about Soviet Russia and the impacts of communism with the changing and erasing of history. And they talk about Tartaria. It says, or let us take the matter of history, the core of a people's cultural heritage. For example, the Central Committee of the Communist Party issued a directive ordering the parties to proceed to the scientific revision of the history of Tartaria. Tartar history was to be falsified in order to eliminate references to hide the fact of the real course of the Tartar-Russian relations.
What does that all mean?
So basically,
it existed.
That just made me freak out a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the Native Americans and like how developed they were and like how they're connected to people groups from all over the world. But the Smithsonian's like, no, we're going to write history like this. They were isolated and dumb.
Yeah, it can't be vindicated because it didn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. And if anybody can find out the truth about Tartaria, right?
What'd you call me?
It would be Tucker Carlson. What'd you say?
Tartaria?
Tartaria. Yeah, well, if anybody will find out, it's Tucker Carlson, who is on his way to interview Putin, right?
Yep.
And there's rumors he won't be allowed to enter back into the United States, you know, because he's helping, you know, spread disinformation or whatever from a political adversary on the world stage. Well, check this out. Tucker Carlson going to interview Putin.
We're in Moscow tonight. We're here to interview the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. We'll be doing that soon. There are risks to conducting an interview like this, obviously, so we thought about it carefully over many months. Here's why we're doing it. First, because it's our job. We're in journalism. Our duty is to inform people. 2 years into a war that's reshaping the entire world, most Americans are not informed. They have no real idea what's happening in this region, here in Russia or 600 miles away in Ukraine. But they should know. They're paying for much of it in ways they might not fully yet perceive. The war in Ukraine is a human disaster. It's left hundreds of thousands of people dead, an entire generation of young Ukrainians, and it's depopulated the largest country in Europe. But the long-term effects are even more profound. This war has utterly reshaped the global military and trade alliances, and the sanctions that followed have as well. And in total, they have upended the world economy. The post-World War II economic order, the system that guaranteed prosperity in the West for more than 80 years, is coming apart very fast, and along with it, the dominance of the US dollar. These are not small changes. They are history-altering developments. They will define the lives of our grandchildren. Most of the world understands this perfectly well. They can see it. Ask anyone in Asia or the Middle East what the future looks like. And yet the populations of the English-speaking countries seem mostly unaware. They think that as nothing has really changed. And they think that because no one has told them the truth. Their media outlets are corrupt. They lie to their readers and viewers. And they do that mostly by omission. For example, since the day the war in Ukraine began, American media outlets have spoken to scores of people from Ukraine, and they have done scores of interviews with Ukrainian President Zelensky. We ourselves have put in a request for an interview with Zelensky, and we hope he accepts. But the interviews he's already done in the United States are not traditional interviews. They are fawning pep sessions specifically designed to amplify Zelensky's demand that the U.S. enter more deeply into a war in Eastern Europe and pay for it. That is not journalism. It is government propaganda. Propaganda of the ugliest kind, the kind that kills people. At the same time, our politicians and media outlets have been doing this, promoting a foreign leader like he's a new consumer brand. Not a single Western journalist has bothered to interview the president of the other country involved in this conflict, Vladimir Putin. Most Americans have no idea why Putin invaded Ukraine or what his goals are now. They've never heard his voice. That's wrong. Americans have a right to know all they can about a war they're implicated in, and we have the right to tell them about it because we are Americans too. Freedom of speech is our birthright. We were born with the right to say what we believe. That right cannot be taken away no matter who is in the White House. But they're trying anyway. Almost 3 years ago, the Biden administration illegally spied on our text messages and then leaked the contents to their servants in the news media. They did this in order to stop a Putin interview that we were planning. Last month, we're pretty certain they did exactly the same thing once again. But this time, we came to Moscow anyway. We are not here because we love Vladimir Putin. We are here because we love the United States, and we want it to remain prosperous and free. We paid for this trip ourselves. We took no money from any government or group, nor are we charging people to see the interview. It is not behind a paywall. Anyone can watch the entire thing, shot live to tape and unedited, on our website, tuckercarlson.com. Elon Musk, to his great credit, has promised not to suppress or block this interview once we post it on his platform, X, and we're grateful for that. Western governments, by contrast, will certainly do their best to censor this video on other less principled platforms because that's what they do. They are afraid of information they can't control. But you have no reason to be afraid of it. We are not encouraging you to agree with what Putin may say in this interview, but we are urging you to watch it. You should know as much as you can. And then, like a free citizen and not a slave, you can decide for yourself. Thanks.
Well, I hope he got to ask him about Tartaria. Let's just say that. Well, some people thought I might talk about the Grammys, but we know that Taylor Swift is sold her soul, or whatever. But
she's also rigging football. She's rigging the football.
Fame and rigging football. Oh, really?
No, like Lindsay told me for a long time. She said, football's rigged, right? And I was like, no, it's not, because we were watching the World Series, and she's like, all sports are rigged. And I was like, I don't know if I believe that. Baseball, they couldn't rig it. It'd be too hard. And then this whole thing with Taylor Swift being with that dude, her new boyfriend that plays for the team that's going to the Super Bowl, and they just so happen to keep winning. And she's at all the games, so all these Swifties is what they call themselves, are all coming to the games and stuff. And it's like, she might have convinced me. I mean, she's probably one of the smartest people I know, right there under OPA in my brain. Like, if I didn't have those two, I don't know what I'd do. I'd look like an idiot.
Well, here's how you know, Jeremiah. Is the WWE considered a sport?
Of course. That's not fake.
Exactly. So all sports are just in like kindness, completely real.
They're very good stunt people.
I was wondering, can you gamble on WWE? Because nobody knows but the WWE, right?
I'm not sure. I know that people gamble on the UFC fights, but that seems more real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always love to tell the joke, back in the day, thousands of years ago in Canaan, people used to worship Baal, Well, today, people worship football and baseball and, anyways, that's just my little joke there. All right, so that's all the news for this week, Jeremiah.
All right, thanks, Jake, for the bummer. Now baseball's ball. Man.
Right. I just teasing.
Thank you for another great current news as always. And now a quick look at the Skiba Family Book Bundle.
We are proud to announce the Skiba Family Book Bundle, where you will receive a signed copy of Rob Skiba's best-selling book, Babylon Rising, a signed copy of Sheila Skiba's best-selling expose, The Protocol That Kills, and a signed copy of Jeremiah Skiba's book, Never Got to Say Goodbye. There's only a limited number left, so make sure you click the link in the description below.
So yes, the links are in the description below. And now it's, I think it's about that time, Opa, for an all-new Opa's Corner. Take it away, Opa.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
Another Opa's Corner. Let's get started. A man stepped onto the overnight train and asked to speak to the conductor. Upon meeting him, the passenger told the conductor, "I need you to wake me up in Philadelphia. I'm a deep sleeper, and I can be kind of grouchy when I get up, but no matter what, I want you to help me make that stop. Here's $100 to make sure." The conductor agreed, and they shook hands. The man fell asleep, and when he awoke, he heard the announcement that the train was approaching New York. Furious, he collared the conductor. "I gave you $100 to make sure I got off the train in Philadelphia, you worthless fool." "Wow," another passenger said to his traveling companion. Is that guy angry? Yeah, his companion replied. Still, not half as angry as the guy they forced off the train in Philadelphia. One day, a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, chemical engineer, and computer engineer were driving down the street in the same car. All of a sudden, the car broke down. The mechanical engineer said, "I think a rod broke." The chemical engineer said, "The way it sputtered at the end, I don't think it's getting gas." The electrical engineer said, "I think it was a spark and something is wrong with the electrical system." All three turned to the computer engineer and said, "What do you think?" The computer engineer said, "I think we should all get out and get back in." As Chester left the pottery class, he desperately gave himself a personal PSA pat-down. He was looking for his keys. They were not in his pockets. A quick search in the meeting room revealed nothing. Suddenly, he realized that he must have left them in the car. Frantically, he headed for the parking lot. Chester's wife, Sally, had scolded him many times for leaving the keys in the ignition. Chester's theory is that the ignition is the best place not to lose them. Sally's theory is that the car will be stolen. As Chester burst through the doors, he came to a terrifying conclusion. Sally's theory was right. The parking lot was empty. He immediately called the police. He gave them his location, confessing that he had left the keys in the car and that it had been stolen. Then Chester made the most difficult call of all. "Honey, I left the keys in the car and it has been stolen." There was a period of silence. Chester thought the call had been dropped, but then he heard Sally's voice. "Chester, I dropped you off." Now it was time to be silent. Embarrassed, he said, "Well, come get me." "I will, just as soon as I convince this cop to take off the handcuffs." I was going to tell a time-traveling joke, but you guys didn't like it. I used to run a dating service for chickens, but I was struggling to make hens meet. What does a pig put on dry skin? Ointment. Why do we tell actors to break a leg? Well, because every play has a cast. My wife told me to stop acting like a flamingo, so I had to put my foot down. What did the left eye say to the right eye? "Between you and me, something smells." I'm so good at sleeping, I can do it with my eyes closed. How much money does a pirate pay for corn? A buccaneer. What is the stinkiest planet? Jupiter.
Or Uranus.
What's the difference between a hippo and a Zippo? One's pretty heavy, and the others a little lighter. Did you hear the one about the roof? Never mind, it's over your head. Oh boy, now it's time for the funnies. Take your time, Mr. Groundhog. I hope Google Translate worked. Homo sapiens, cease serving dry substance. Eddie. P.S. Your footgear now has vomit. Stop doing that.
That's dark.
This thing is just for decoration. You sharpen your claws on the curtains.
Or the chair.
This isn't going to be easy, but we'll start looking. Fish tank. Woo-wee! This thing's been here a long time. Well, thank God for ketchup. They're claiming there's spots on the new mattress. For the last time, Mr. Perkins, did you or did you not emit a particularly foul odor in front of dinner guests and then attempt to pin the blame on my client? And may I remind you, sir, you are still under oath. Lewis, phone call. Whose bright idea was it to place the ark animals alphabetically? Ants? Anteaters. Thank the sun god you're here. We're infested with papyrus wasps. Garuk Brothers. Psychiatrist, please check your tinfoil hat at the door. This is a Boeing jet. Should bolts loosen, wrenches will fall from the overhead compartment. I just took a DNA test. Learned that my ancestors are from Frankfurt. Mine are from Poland. Italy. Vienna.
That's funny.
Ancestry. Wait. We're not royalty?
That's funny.
Pretty cool, Dewey. Hey, shake the jar and see if they'll fight. Chicken tenders. Be gentle with yourself. It's okay. You matter.
Love me tender.
He acts all cool and feral until the can of food comes out.
Yeah. We got one of them.
Things are gonna be so much nicer now that we've had Fluffy declawed.
Yep.
By age 47, it became clear that Lester and his parents had distinctly different ideas on what it meant to grow up and become a successful engineer. New guy, huh? Well, up here, you walk the edge. And the edge is a fickle hellcat. Love her, but never trust her, for her heart is full of lie. Consolidated Lie Company. Flintstones, eat the Flintstones. The Swedish attack was less successful. IKEA. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Teach me, Ben. Teach me the Jedi pie trick. Use the fork, Luke. It's a tat I got when I was on the inside. Mom, I told you to drop me off a block away. Mom! Saying dead is so uncool. Now we refer to it as being uploaded to the cloud. Centipede buddies. High 50. Got any ideas for a band name?
The Doors.
Hey, Charlie. Looks like you're going to have some friends over tonight.
Oh, please. That would be great.
And that concludes another OPA'S Corner.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
OPA'S Corner is now available on my own YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe.
Very funny OPA'S Corner, Opa. I like the cat ones right at the end. I think that's your new thing, right? At the end of every OPA'S Corner, you have to say Charlie.
Gotta do something with Charlie.
Yep, he's right here. See if I can get his head. Oh, it popped up. Anyways, thank you, Opa. Now a word from our good friend and sponsor, JJ. Are you tired of living in constant pain? Do you feel like you've tried every CBD product on the market with no relief? Look no further than JJ's Natural CBD Rub. When I was diagnosed with degenerative disc disease, this was the only product that completely took my pain away. Working with JJ has been a dream come true, and his products have completely changed my life. Don't just take my word for it. Visit JJ's website, jjcbdrub.com, and read hundreds of testimonials from people whose lives have been changed by all of JJ's amazing products. And now, as a Skiba News Nation exclusive, you can get $50 off a 3-pack special of JJ's Natural CBD Rub by texting CBD to 920-382-7720. Don't suffer in silence any longer. Take control of your pain today with JJ's Natural CBD Rub. Again, text CBD to 920-382-7720 for an exclusive discount and start feeling the relief you deserve. The links are in the description below. Thank you, JJ, as always. time for some history. So Jake, do you want to tell everybody what happened before today's episode that was so cool about my history topic?
So yeah, when we started recording, got on camera here, I just started whistling the Nickelodeon theme song for no reason other than it just popped into my head. And lo and behold, guess what we're covering today?
Nickelodeon. No, Disney Channel. No, Nickelodeon. Anyways. Yeah, we're going to be doing another deep dive on the dark side of Nickelodeon, and especially this man right here. His name's Dan Schneider, but we'll get to him. But so I'm assuming that you watched Nickelodeon as a kid.
Yes, I did. It was the not so dark Cartoon Network, right? Whenever you watched Cartoon Network, it was like black and white, darker tones, shades, and Nickelodeon was like the really bright, you know, in your face, you know. I used to get headaches, now that I think about it, when I watched cartoons on Nickelodeon compared to other channels, but I don't know, maybe it was just me.
Maybe this will explain it. Let's start with this first clip of the preview of the dark side of Nickelodeon.
Daniela Monet is the latest former child actor to call out Nickelodeon.
We knew something was off.
Some of the wardrobe on the show was not age appropriate, and that she, quote, wouldn't even wear some of that today as an adult.
Former Zoe 101 actress Alexa Nicholas is the latest child star to criticize Nickelodeon over its traumatic and unsafe environment.
I did not feel protected at Nickelodeon as a child, personally. And so I'm demanding that Nickelodeon starts protecting children.
I remember he said he wasn't getting royalties anymore, which is really interesting. Because he was on Jason Nash's podcast, and Jason is still getting royalties from Drake and Josh.
Yeah.
But Josh wasn't, because he was a kid when he was doing it.
Screwed and sold us out in negotiations with Nickelodeon because they were kind of ruthless, and they didn't pay their leads residuals.
I see the problem. Oh, do ya?
If you want to make a lot of money with a TV network, there's only one demographic you gotta focus on: children. That's because it's not just the child viewers that make kids' TV so lucrative, it's also the child actors. Child actors are naive and easy to manipulate. They don't know what's appropriate or normal yet. They aren't in any position to negotiate a higher pay, and they definitely don't want to do anything that will blow their shot at being famous. Child actors will do whatever it takes to succeed on screen, wink wink. And their parents are just as desperate. And Nickelodeon has taken full advantage of this. All of our favorite shows growing up had some very disturbing stuff going on behind the scenes. Child actors ripped off for millions, abusing child actors in a way that would definitely get this video demonetized if we went into it. And it's only now that these child actors are all grown up that these disturbing revelations are coming to light. This is the dark side of Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon wasn't always the wacky, borderline inappropriate billion-dollar conglomerate it is today. It started out as a simple idea to create a TV network just for kids. You see, before Nickelodeon and all the other kids channels that were established throughout the 80s, kids TV shows ran periodically on adult channels. Children had to wake up bright and early on a Saturday morning just so they could watch their favorite cartoon for an hour. Kids wanted more television, but it just wasn't available for them, so it was a huge untapped market. So in 1977, a woman named Dr. Vivian Horner launched the first official Nickelodeon TV show before the channel was even established to confirm that there was indeed a market for this. The show Pinwheel aired on a local channel only in Columbus, Ohio, and it took off immediately. Kids just couldn't get enough. Nickelodeon knew that they needed to add more shows to keep children watching around the clock. And after just 2 years, the nationwide Nickelodeon channel was born. Nickelodeon revolutionized cable TV. All of a sudden, kids could watch shows every single day from 8 AM to 11 PM. No boring, inappropriate adult shows, and no TV ads either, just entertaining kid-friendly contents. And it was great for adults too, because the channels kept their kids locked in without a peep for hours on end. But even though kids from all over had their eyes glued to the screen, Nickelodeon wasn't making as much money as you would think back then. In fact, at the time, the channel was about $40 million in debts, and soon children were getting bored of the same repetitive shows, and the channel was starting to drown. That's when the vice president of Nickelodeon, Geraldine Layburn, made a decision to save the brand. She started to run advertisements on the channel. Advertising to adults on TV was completely normal, but using television to target kids, that was a little bit more unorthodox. But it worked. Kids were begging their parents to spend all their birthday and Christmas money on Nickelodeon products. The advertising decision also came with a full rebrand. The logo was changed to the orange spot that we all came to know and love, and later a flashy new production called the Kids' Choice Award was created. The Kids' Choice Awards show allowed kids to cast their vote for their favorite shows, music, and movies for the first time ever. They also created a sister channel called Nick Jr. to start capturing even younger kids into the Nickelodeon universe. The channel was trying anything to get every single kid out there hooked on Nickelodeon, and it was working better than they could have ever dreamed of. The network was blowing up, and the golden age of Nickelodeon was fast approaching. And with that, everything was about to change.
So that was a brief little history into Nickelodeon, and I didn't, before doing this, I didn't know how far back it went. I didn't know it went to the, what they say, the 70s, 80s. I had no idea. Jake, what was your favorite cartoon on Nickelodeon, or show?
Oh, I mean, of course, you know, SpongeBob, right?
SpongeBob. Drake and Josh was my stuff. I love that show.
Oh yeah, Drake and Josh. I remember that.
So, what do you remember the green slime?
I think that started to come out after I had gotten more into like Cartoon Network, Batman, and other shows. So I didn't care so much about the Kids' Choice Awards, but I do remember every once in a while seeing like a rerun of it. They'd have, you know, some famous singer, you know, the NSYNC guys would come on there, or it would be like Britney Spears or whatever. And I remember Saturday morning cartoons before we had access through Cartoon Network and cable TV, because it was always two different options growing up, for me at least, where you could get satellite TV that had all these channels, and they'd put this box and plug it into your, you know, RGB cables, and that's how you would watch these other channels like Cartoon Network, and you'd have maybe like 60, 70 channels. But I remember Saturday morning cartoons on regular public broadcasting channels, and you know, it's just crazy waiting all week as a kid, and you'd have your like 5 or 6 hours from like 7 a.m. till 11, and then at 11 these boring like afternoon adult shows would come on, and you'd have to wait, and then you'd have to wait exactly, you know, till later, till, you know, this other show came on. I think it was like you'd have to watch through probably like 5 hours of boring adult TV to get to the reruns that would come out at 6 o'clock. Anyways, it was just you know, a crazy time to be alive. We're a strange generation that got to see that. Now everything's at your fingertips.
Yep, sure was. It was a very interesting time. Now we're gonna play this next clip called "The Green Slime Cult."
By the 90s, Nickelodeon became an iconic brand. They started releasing classic cartoons like Rugrats, Doug, and Ren and Stimpy. Then came Rocko's Modern Life, Cat Dog, Hey Arnold, and the Wild Thornberrys. Nickelodeon shows were becoming so popular that they could literally use their cartoons as spokespeople for kids' advertisements.
Idiots! It's new Nickelodeon Bailouts, Ren, Stimpy, Doug, and more. Nickelodeon characters now on Fruit Roll-Ups. What fun Fruit Roll-Ups will we roll out with next?
Soon they scored a deal with Sony Wonder to release compilations of their episodes as VHS tapes. Nickelodeon productions were getting as big as blockbuster movies, and the kids were obsessed. By the mid-90s, Nickelodeon was the #1 cable channel by daily viewers, and at that time their biggest cartoon cash cow hadn't even been released yet.
Creatures, SpongeBob SquarePants. Yes, of course he lives in a pineapple, you silly.
Hello, I like money.
It was right in the middle of all the success that Nickelodeon started branching out from cartoons to create more shows with real live child actors. They gave a few different shows a shot, but one of them stood out well above the rest. All That.
Fresh out the box. Stop, look and watch. Ready yet? Get set. It's All That.
All That attracted a different type of young audience with a Saturday Night Live style sketch comedy, while also having a slightly older tone. It blew up internationally in countries like the UK, Australia, and Canada, getting so popular that it ran for over 10 years. But All That wasn't all smiles behind the scenes. See, All That was written and produced by a ruthless man, and this ruthless TV mogul would go on to practically control Nickelodeon after All That took off, and that man was Dan Schneider.
Executive producer of the Amanda Show. show, Dan Schneider.
Skiba Dan Schneider.
Dan Schneider. Dan Schneider.
Dan Schneider. Dan, we love you. Thank you so much, dude.
Dan Schneider was bestowed with the Lifetime Achievement Award, and some of the stars from Drake and Josh, Sam and Kat, Victorious and iCarly congratulated Dan for making their careers.
Did she say nice things about me? Because I will tase her if necessary.
Uh-oh.
I have the taser. We haven't had to use it in a long time. But
I said lots of nice things.
No, I said nice things about you too.
Oh.
I'm kind of scared.
I was a little scared. You get me. You never get me.
I just did.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh, that scared me so.
So that was a brief little thing about this man right here, Dan Schneider, who was the evil man behind all these Nickelodeon sitcoms. After becoming the #1 show in cartoons, they had to branch out to do sitcoms and other kind of shows like that, and that was the brainchild of this man, who was in my opinion, I have to say that for legal reasons, pervert. And I don't, Jake, do you remember this foot logo?
Yeah, the Nickelodeon foot, of course.
Yep. Well, let's see if they talk about it, but I can, oops. Sorry about that. Let's see if they talk about it, but if they don't, I'm going to tell you a really interesting story about that foot. All right, so let's play the evil man behind Nickelodeon.
Let's back up. Who is Dan Schneider? Well, if you've ever watched a Nickelodeon show from 1995 to 2014, there's a good chance he created the TV shows that help mold your brain during your most formative years. Dan grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and by the age of 7, he was by far the heaviest kid in his class. Terrified of being rejected by his peers, he decided that he was going to win them over the only way he knew how, by being funny. I wouldn't be thought of as the fattest kid in class if they thought I was the funniest kid in class, he said. Early on, Dan knew that he wanted to get involved in the TV business. One day he saw that a movie was holding casting calls in Memphis, and he gave it a shot. He landed a small part in a movie called Making the Grade, and was later casted in a sitcom after getting noticed for the role. Dan was building up such a reputation that he was invited to host the second ever Kids' Choice Award for Nickelodeon. That was his in, the opportunity that would forever change his life. Nickelodeon was looking for writers to help create All That's, and Dan easily landed the gig after writing the pilots. And from that point on, it catapulted his career with the network as a writer and producer. The Amanda Show, Keenan and Kel, What I Like About You, Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, iCarly, Victoria, Sam and Cats. The more successful his shows got, the more powerful Nickelodeon became, and thus the more powerful Dan became. Soon Schneider and the channel were so intertwined that almost all of their shows were made by him. On the outside, it looked like a wholesome yet massively successful kids TV network. But on the inside, Dan Schneider and Nickelodeon were covering up some deep, dark secrets.
So Dan Schneider was the most powerful man in Nickelodeon Studios, so they would give him anything he wanted. They would let him get away with anything, and whatever his sick desires were, they would just allow it or just look the other way, which is pretty sick. And then what I was talking about with the foot is he had a, I don't know if we want to keep this in there, but he had a foot fetish, and that was his thing. And it was very, very strange in my opinion. That's kind of borderline, I don't know if we can even say it on YouTube. Starts with a P, ends with an edophile. But anyways, let's play this next clip exposing Nickelodeon and see what the actual actors of these teen shows were actually saying about Dan Schneider.
Acting on a Nickelodeon show was a dream come true for most kids. Getting a huge payday, having fans, being famous, being a child star. But the people who actually lived through it say that being a Nickelodeon star is a lot less glamorous than you would think.
My experience with acting is I'm so ashamed of the parts that I've done in the past. I resent my career in a lot of ways. I think like by 15, I was already embarrassed.
In her new memoir, Jeanette writes about being, quote, photographed in a bikini at a wardrobe fitting and being encouraged to drink alcohol by an intimidating figure she simply calls the creator.
In the excerpt, she wrote, quote, "My shoulders do have a lot of knots in them, but I don't want the creator to be the one rubbing them out. I want to say something, to tell him to stop."
In her book, she writes that after Sam and Cat was canceled, Nickelodeon offered her a $300,000 thank you gift if she agreed to never speak publicly about her experience at the network.
Whenever I had wardrobe fittings, he always had to be in them. Whatever the show was, I started to realize going like, oh, so the creator isn't in the room.
absolutely loved Amanda Bynes growing up. Yesterday, it was reported that she had been placed on a psychiatric hold after she was found roaming the streets naked and alone. And then she told the driver she was coming down from a psychotic episode.
How much money would you make on a season of Drake and Josh back then? And residuals.
No residuals. No residuals on kids' TV.
I get residuals from Drake and Josh.
I don't.
For a show that ran for 10 years all over the world, like, residuals would have been nice, you know? And they wouldn't let us negotiate for them. The show's doing well. How about we negotiate for some residuals? They're like, we'll hire someone else.
No matter how good their lives seemed on TV, off-camera, Nickelodeon was ruthless to their young actors, both emotionally and financially. And Dan Schneider was at the core of many of the allegations against the network. Allegations started piling up that painted the creator of Nickelodeon's most popular shows in a very, very dark light. Dan was apparently a domineering, cruel, abusive dictator that had complete control over the kids who worked for him. With just a few words, Dan could make or break a young actor's career, and he made sure to exercise his power, taking advantage of kids and doing things way too sick to talk about on YouTube. But because Dan Schneider was Nickelodeon's rainmaker, Nickelodeon had his back. Jeanette McCurdy, who played Sam in iCarly, was offered $300,000 by Nickelodeon to keep quiet about her experiences on the show with Dan Schneider. She turned down the hush money and later spilled all the secrets about her horrible time working at Nickelodeon and who she calls the creator in her book. Most people agree the creator that she references is Dan, as he created iCarly. And Jeanette isn't the only one who had a problem with Nickelodeon and Dan Schneider. Another girl that was on Zoe 101 said that Dan verbally abused her on set so badly that being on TV just wasn't worth it anymore and she quits. She was just 12 years old at the time.
I see Dan Schneider come in. What now? You know, like, I'm the problem again. We've already told you to stop crying and we've already told you to shut up. And you're our hours and our money and our time, you know?
There were reports that Dan constantly threw tantrums, screamed, and sent furious texts to child actors on his show outside of work hours. Actor after actor came out addressing his creepy, inappropriate, abusive behavior on sets where he had all the control. But it wasn't just actors facing Dan's wrath. He was horrible to everyone that worked with him. Whereas complained that Dan blatantly discriminated against women, saying, quote, he didn't like having female writers in the writer's room, end quotes. Even people who didn't work with Dan Schneider found Nickelodeon to be ruthless. Lead actors said how the kids' network refused to give them residuals and threatened to fire them if they dared to even ask.
Kid shows were always less, like, in between seasons, we were like, okay, the show's doing well, let's renegotiate these residuals. They're like, we'll recast Ned right now. There are thousands of kids across the country who would want to do this. Yeah. Like, they're savage.
Nickelodeon had all the leverage and they knew it. So they would squeeze their child actors for all they've got, toss them out, continue making money off of them for years to come, and then sign the next kid in line to do the same.
So Dan Schneider was the creator, and if you ever hear that term in some of these former child stars books, that's who they're referring to. And it's very, very dark, because if you look at the history, just like Bobby Driscoll we did way back when, which I should do a revisited one, but he was the first child star, and they all end up kind of messed up. Not all of them, but the majority of them, you know, leave messed up. And who knows why? Maybe it's because, you know, they threaten these kids, they basically own these kids, and these sick people exploit these kids. And it just, it's so sad to see. And for Nickelodeon just to excuse it, and that's actually the name of this last clip, is Excuses. So let's play that clip.
When the nasty allegations about Dan hit the media in full force, Nickelodeon publicly parted ways with him and canceled all the shows. Dan went into incognito. He disappeared and tried keeping a low profile. That was until 2021, when Dan finally decided to address all the accusations against him in an interview with the New York Times. Dan insisted that his time off had nothing to do with the laundry list of claims against him, but rather he was just working on himself. He said he even lost 100 pounds in the process. He said that it was sad that social media pushed all these lies about him, that all his shows were just about comedy and totally innocence, and he humbly summed it up as, whatever I do next, I wanted to outdo what I've done in the past. And he's right. I mean, come on, doesn't this look like a guy you would trust your kids with? As for Nickelodeon, it looks like they're doing their best to rebrand themselves and to erase any memory of creepy Dan Schneider, and it's working perfectly. This year's Kids' Choice Awards drew 3.1 million viewers, a huge spike from last year's viewership. It even ranked as the top K-pop program among kids aged 2 to 14, which means the next generation of kids is falling right in line with Nickelodeon's plans. And even though it looks like they've cleaned up their acts, we won't know what's actually going on behind the scenes until the kids are all grown up and the damage has already been done.
So what are your thoughts about this, Jake?
Well, I mean, we got to be careful with accusations and proven things, but you can kind of tell when a parent puts their child in an environment where men can have the opportunity to do those things, it's not the best parenting. I mean, the parents are there thinking dollar signs too.
Yep.
And so it's not just these situations that, you know, are, oh, so terrible. Well, I mean, the industry creates these monsters. It allows, you know, guys with issues around young children, you know, for, you know, hours and hours with nobody else around. Like, you got to be crazy if you want that for your child. But I mean, we're in a generation that we're all programmed to want the Disney child star lifestyle, at least here in the Western world. And it's only recently that I think wise families are breaking that mold of the Disney indoctrinated, Nickelodeon indoctrinated youth, and making it so that kids are aware of these deceptions and traps in the world, because we've definitely been marketed to pretty heavily. As soon as they figured out they could run advertisements on Nickelodeon, man, they started putting people to crunch the numbers and figure out how to make the biggest buck out of the audience. And unfortunately, you know, they create these cyclical patterns where you see a child star get famous, get into, you know, adult age, and then just go bonkers and represent a whole host of foul, terrible, you know, themes and topics. And it's almost like they purposely are leading astray the people that were their fans when they were on a kids show, right?
Yep. And yeah, that's all I got about Dan Schneider. I mean, it's just amazing that Disney is still doing this today. They're trying to push agendas, and they're trying to do all this stuff, which is kind of similar to, you know, people like Dan Schneider that would, you know, push their agendas on the kids, right? So, what are your thoughts, Opa? You used to watch me watch Nickelodeon.
Well, the only thing I remember watching was SpongeBob SquarePants, which
yeah,
I
that
think
was the best.
I think it was more adult than it was children.
Yeah. But I still love SpongeBob. I'm sorry.
Well, we have the first 3 seasons on DVD, so.
Yeah, I used to watch them every day, man. All right, well, that's
all.
all.
We grew up on it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's our childhood. It's like the person who parented us was coming through that TV screen and entertaining us for hours and hours. So no wonder we, like, in our adult lives have these little character traits that were influenced by those cartoons, you know.
Oh,
and I watched Rocky and Bullwinkle too.
Yeah.
That goes way back.
Rocky and Bullwinkle. Yep. All right, well, that's all I got for history, but I do have some Truth Talks, another edition of Truth Talks. You ready for that, Jake?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Because I haven't been caught yet.
SpaceX falls silent after this revolutionary invention.
Watch this.
Oh man, those are always the coolest fireworks.
Oh
That's
yeah,
sweet.
man. These were all found by my beautiful girlfriend Lindsay, so thank you, Lindsay. All right, let's play the next one.
Hi there, you little chicken nuggets. These are some Bible verses that you can use if someone hurts their feelings. Or if you just don't
I
like
saw this
them,
one.
Or if they're a little fart sniffer. Let's get started. If only you would shut up and let that be your wisdom. If you do so again, I will lay hands on you. You should mind your own business. You can leave. You son of a perverse and rebellious woman. Depart from me, you who are cursed. Yes, I know. Be quiet. Your navel is perfectly formed like a goblet. I know that's supposed to it's meant to be like a good thing in the context of that scripture, but I meant it in the bad way.
I like those guys.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, so what were you saying, Jake?
Oh, that is just hilarious. I mean, I love those guys. We should have them on our show, or we should get them to have us on to talk conspiracies sometime, man.
Oh yeah,
I think we have a lot of in common.
We should talk to Kristen.
Their humor
and if you guys know how to reach out to anybody like that, send us an email and contact Kristen at skibanewsnation.com. She helps us with booking guests and all that good stuff. So thank you, Kristen. We very much appreciate you. All right, let's play that next one.
Did this song from 1969 predict the events of 2024? This theory says yes. So back in 1969, there was a song that was released called Age of Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In by a band named The Fifth Dimension. In their lyrics, they speak very specifically about what the Age of Aquarius is and what will happen during the Age of Aquarius. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Age of Aquarius just began on January 20th of 2024. The band detailed that during the Age of Aquarius, there will be harmony and understanding, sympathy, trust abounding, and no more falsehoods or lies. And at the very beginning of 2024, the Age of Aquarius, this is already happening. There has been news about aliens and extra-dimensional beings, billionaires and millionaires coming out and being candid about their preparation for the end of the world by building bunkers. Big governments and individuals being exposed for lying, cheating, stealing, and hurting other people. And most importantly, news about World War III has been coming out day after day, warning us that something big is about to happen and that our world will change forever. Now, although some are hopeful for the Age of Aquarius, others are actually very fearful of it because some believe that the world will end during the Age of Aquarius, which is right around now. Now, whether you believe in astrology or if this band was right or wrong, none of that matters. We do see that something is changing and happening in our world right now, and we have to be prepared for it. So are you prepared for the Age of Aquarius and what's to come? Tell me what you think in the comments.
What are your thoughts, Jake?
The Age of Aquarius. I know the heavens are for signs and seasons. We talked about the solar eclipse that's coming up this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, the man pouring out the vessel of water, which is what Aquarius symbolizes, that heavenly sign, or, you know, the stars up there that shows. I mean, I don't know if the zodiacal kind of new age take on this is accurate, but I do think there is truth encoded in the heavens, right?
Yep.
And I think we are seeing a apocalypse of sorts, and people don't know that the word apocalypse doesn't mean the end of the world, right? The apocalypse means the unveiling.
Yep.
That if you Google the meaning of that term, and so what we are seeing is more people becoming aware of the situation of how the world actually is, and you know, we see Book of Revelation style things coming to fruition, and that's why I think people need to get ready, because we're seeing a lot of the truths of the world, and that's and the truth is we're headed towards the beast, you know, one world government with a mark of the beast and all that kind of stuff, you know. So, you know, you have to really have your focus on the foundation, right? Because when the storm comes, what will you have left if not your faith and your family and the time you invest, you know, building up the most important character qualities in your personal life, right?
Yep.
So, all right.
All right, let's play the next one up.
Oh crap. Is 2024 the beginning of the end and the year of the beginning of the apocalypse?
Hey.
If you're saying no, I wouldn't be so sure about that. This movie right beside me, The Book of Eli, came out in 2010, and it's about the post-apocalypse world, and wait till I show you what's in the movie. Is Denzel Washington speaking to us and showing us the beginning of the end? Look at the scene right here. What's that on the wall? Let's blow it up again. It says the year is 2024 AD. And if you zoom in right here on the poster, it tells you it's a tale about a boy, his dog, and survival. 2024 AD. A future you'll probably live to see. That we will all live to see. Are they trying to tell us that the apocalypse will start this year? I'm sure we all feel that heavy cloud above us right now that things aren't normal, and that this year specifically is going to be really crazy. You just know it. You just know it.
You were just talking about that.
2017 eclipse, and the final one for a long time will be in 2024 in April, making a giant X over America. A tale of two Trumps, if you will. Or maybe I'm just being crazy. What do y'all think?
Isn't that crazy that he just talked about what you talked about in current news? I feel like that's happened all day today.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
We're all on the same wavelength, or whatever you want to call it. All right, let's play that next one, Opa.
Have you guys seen this new thing out from Russia? Check this out. And this is right after Leave the World Behind drops. Right after that, they dropped the trailer for Civil War. And then Russia decides to go and drop this.
Oh, a kitty.
Everybody, we really need to start taking this serious, because they laughing at us now. They really are. Like, if you really know what's going on, they just laughing with us. It's like a video game, in my opinion. It's like, you can't just go straight after the boss. You know, we've been the boss for how long? Like, they literally been doing side missions and quests to get prepared to come after us. Like, they've been gathering materials and weapons, and we just been watching. My people, we need to wake up. They're dropping warnings left and right. Are y'all not paying attention to this? Like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. This is insane. Get your loved ones together. Get some supplies. Make sure you know who your friends are.
Man.
Yeah. Some pretty freaky stuff. All right, well, let's play this.
Roseanne Barr, did you see what she said today? She said she doesn't see a 2024 election even happening in the United States.
I don't think we're going to have no election.
You want to bet money?
I'll bet.
How much?
I'll bet big. I don't think we're going to have no election.
$1,000.
All right.
Shake hands.
I did not want to hear that.
I mean, it's possible, because if Russia does technically declare war, or we declare war, then he can stay in.
Right, he could declare martial law, or you could literally go into the War Powers Act, which then takes him out of the occasion, and then you have an entire emergency set up right now.
Isn't that scary? Could you imagine Biden being our president during all this happening? I mean, we all know that he's a puppet, right? So, all right, Opa.
You turned down a $9 million movie role in 2021 because you wouldn't take the mandate in Hollywood at the time.
We're gonna have to break that out.
It's a lot of money.
Not at all. Not one regret.
You know my thought when I heard that story? You must be even richer than I think you are.
You know, your health is worth more than all the money in the world. It's an experimental drug, and they had no time to really see the long-term effects. It's kind of like the war machine. You know, if you make the bullets and the Band-Aids, you're gonna always want to be in war because it's profitable.
You know what's crazy is the #1 community that was so anti-V was the black community, because they saw through the BS. Like, they weren't gonna go just line up and get their, you know, thing.
Yeah, they went through the Tuskegee experiments. They
I
know
know
how it works.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good point. I should cover that in history. That's a very interesting, sick experiment. All right, Opa, let's play the next one.
We're conspiracy theorists. We look for chemtrails every time we go for a walk. We're conspiracy theorists. We don't take our kids to well visits. We're conspiracy theorists, and we wear shirts like this because we love meeting other conspiracy theorists. We're conspiracy theorists. When we get together, we trash talk the government and discuss the latest psyop. Conspiracy theorists. We only shop on the outside grocery aisles. We're conspiracy theorists, and we only watch TV to spot the propaganda and predictive programming. We're conspiracy theorists. We research everything. Conspiracy theorists. We don't co-parent with the government. We're conspiracy theorists. We don't trust Rockefeller medicine. We're conspiracy theorists. We don't drink tap water. We're conspiracy theorists. Our dream is to live on a farm in a commune with other conspiracy theorists.
What are your thoughts about that, Jake?
I mean, it's kind of true. I mean,
know,
sometimes, you know, you have to be really on the nose with it and make it sound funny, but that's a lot of people's dreams in today's world.
Oh, yeah. Some of them are my dreams. I mean, I just think that the word, you know, the term conspiracy theorist is kind of like a negative. They try to make it negative, but we've kind of made it positive with, you know, truth seekers. But like, yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, I know so many people like that, you know. I'm sure you do too. It's great. All right, Opa.
To think that they can do their own research.
Don't do any of your own research.
Serious consequences.
You should get prison time for even questioning.
Can we all stop saying, I need to do my own research?
That phrase, do your own research, 4 words. 4 little words that are hurting America.
Doing your own research hurts America!
Everybody has a supercomputer in their hand that empowers them to do their own research, and that's the problem.
You must not do your own research.
Remember when they told us we'd all die if we didn't instill complete global communism and then take an experimental drug that might kill you?
Yeah, man, that's scary stuff. All right, Opa.
Yeah, we
look,
have
I
such
think
a powerful
that
tool.
everyone is going to have to take a hard look at where they want to be at this moment in history, as we're looking at efforts across the country to prevent people from being able to exercise their fundamental rights.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. First of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Check this out. This is why we must stick together as truth seekers. And the alligator is Big Brother. More of us than there are of them. Yeah, like you said, the hippos are the #1 killer animal in the world. They kill more humans than any other animal. But I think that it's cool that they're, you know, sticking together. That they just come out, they all help each other, kind of like us. That's what we do here on this channel. Cool, man. All right, Opa.
So I go on YouTube and I type in "flat Earth in 5 minutes."
Me and Eddie Bravo did this on his show.
Instead of showing me the "flat Earth in 5 minutes" video, it's showing me a video that claims to debunk it. Well, where's the original one? Why is it showing me the video that claims to debunk it, and this video only has 120,000 views? But I know how to find it. I'm going to show you how right now. I have to go to the channel that's hosting this video because I already know where it is, because I've already watched this video before several times, okay? It should be showing up for me because I've seen it before already. Why is it still hiding the video even from me, a person who's seen it already? Not only that, this video is clearly more popular. It has 1.3 million views, and you have to dig down to find it? Come on. Is this not making sense to you guys yet?
Yeah, it's crazy. When I was on Eddie Bravo's show, we were trying to look up one of my dad's videos and we could not find it on a YouTube search. And I was like, dude, it's a conspiracy in itself. So he had to go to DuckDuckGo and show me how to do it just to find the video that we were looking for. And it was like the most popular video of, you know, on his channel. It's crazy.
Great interview with Eddie, by the way. I know we haven't posted it on our channel yet, but when we do in a month or two, people will really like that interview, I think.
I appreciate that, man. And he should be coming on our show soon, so I'm still trying to schedule with him. So coming soon. Skiba News Nation family. All right, let's put the next one. All right, well, that's all we got for Truth Talks. Now you got some memes for me, Jake?
Yeah, I got just a few.
Alrighty. Meme me up.
I know you're a little younger than I am. I've adopted the attitude of the great Negro Leagues, went on to become Negro.
Meme me up.
All right, you guys be on the lookout because next week we're going to have a super car edition from all the OPA submitted strange vehicles I've been saving up over the past few weeks. Here's a couple memes for us. You know, just a reminder, beef jerky is just a cow raisin. Changed my mind. You know, there's good survival food for the apocalypse, you know.
Absolutely.
All right. If a meme is dank, a man is not only right to steal it, he is obligated to do so. Oh, man. I always have a folder, you know, I'm constantly saving, you know, just some OG wisdom. Elon Musk chiming in with this post. All right. If you ever get locked out of your house, walk to your lock calmly because communication is key.
Oh.
Oh boy. And last one, the bike startup better rev the engine a dozen times to make sure the bike started up, right?
Yeah.
All
Cool,
right. And just a few memes for this week, Jeremiah. That's all. Hope you guys enjoyed.
All right. Well, thank you, Jake, for another great current news, memes as always. Opa, thank you for another great Opa's Corner. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Stay awake, not woke. Subscribe and stay tuned.
If you would like to submit a story, topic, or have any other inquiries, please email submit@skibanewsnation.com. Also, you can email Jeremiah Skiba personally at jeremiah@skibanewsnation.com. Also, email Jake personally at jake@skibanewsnation.com. If you want to write us a letter, send us something, help support us, or just say hi, please send your letter to Jeremiah Skiba, P.O. Box 560-271, The Colony, Texas 75056. If you write us a letter, I'll do my best to write you back.
Hey, Skiba News Nation family, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you never miss an episode of Skiba News Nation. If you want to help support us, please consider becoming a Patreon, where you will get exclusive content, shoutouts, and much more. And you can also support our channel by getting yourself some new Skiba News Nation merch. Thank you for coming on this journey with us as we continue to stay on the quest for truth. Huge shout out to all our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do this show without you. If you want to help support us, go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation. Also, you can listen to Skiba News Nation podcast on your favorite podcast platform.